All right, folks. Sunday morning live session with the coach. So hopefully everyone is going to jump on board here, and then I will be able to see everybody once we get going. So going to talk a lot today about how to recognize quackery in this game. So I'm just going to wait for you guys to jump on board, and then we're going to get into it. I'm doing this one in two parts. So hopefully it's long. I got a lot to say, so hopefully you can see and hear me all right. Just waiting for people to jump on board, and then of course we will get started. So very important stuff to get to today. So I just want to get to that. How to recognize quackery in this game. So there'll be lots of questions, I'm sure. So just waiting for people to jump on board, and then we will get started for sure. So yeah, just hopefully everybody's doing well. So a little slow to get going, but we'll get started on this. So I'm doing this one in two parts, and hopefully it'll be educational for everybody. So I'm going to trace back to what I used to do with my lectures when I used to lecture at university. So going back to when I used to be a TA and teach classes at university, all these webinars. So I'm going to keep doing that as well. So people jumping on board. Some good subject matter that I want to get to. And it's like I said, I'm going to have to do it in two parts. So because it's pretty long, but it's pretty in-depth. And I think that's important in the world we live in, rather than just kind of covering stuff. I want to get into really covering stuff so that people can understand. Because a couple of weeks ago, when I did the lecture on the uselessness of supplements and vitamins and everything, soon as I was done, whether it was the comment section or whether it was my emails, people kept saying things like, but what about this? But what about this? But what about this? But what about this? And all that proved to me was what I call the level of indoctrination in this industry. So I'm going to type that down as well. So a lot of the time, this is what's going on, is industry indoctrination into making you a consumer for things that you don't actually need. So hopefully people are hearing and seeing me okay, and people from all over the world, this is great. So I'm going to get into it now, and we are going to get into the lecture. I'm having a little trouble with my software again, so hopefully everyone can see and hear me. I'm not sure what you're seeing on the screen. Let me know if you can see all of that okay, and you know, I will try to expand upon this stuff. Whoa. So initially, everybody's seeing that all right? I will put myself out of the equation so that you can see all this, and then we'll get to just sharing this document on there. So yeah, I know it's a split screen. I'm having trouble with my software here. That's all it will allow me to show right now. So hopefully you guys can see this. So I'm going to do this article because it's important. So hopefully, can you guys all see that? All right, I'm going to read it anyway, Sarah, so it's all good. 26 ways to spot quacks and vitamin pushers. This is an article by Stephen Barrett, based on the early work of Victor Herbert that I discussed in previous episodes, the most relevant nutritionist of the modern era. And as you can see, it was revised April 10th, 2017. So this is an article that started initially way back in the 70s with Victor Herbert, and it keeps getting revised. So all this stuff is relevant and it's updated. So I think that's why I wanted to do it. And my own comments, of course, are comments and rants are below in blue. So I'm going to expand that, and hopefully you guys can all see that. So So 26 ways that should arouse suspicion when you hear people touting some new vitamin, some new supplement, some new workout aid, all these things. Believe me, this isn't limited to 26. I've had this added to this article below, so it's not limited to the 26 things that you see there either. So I'm just going to also in my book behind me here, Understanding Metabolism, I also have a chapter on how to recognize quacks, etc. as well, because it's a big deal with me. So we're going to get into that. So number one, when they talk about nutrients, they only tell part of the story. So I'm going to raise that for you. So quacks tell you all the wonderful things that vitamins and minerals do in your body, and or all the horrible things that can happen if you don't get enough. Many claim that their products or programs offer, quote, optimal nutritional support. Watch for that. Watch for those kind of buzzwords. But they conveniently neglect to tell you that a balanced diet provides all the nutrients most people will ever need, and that government guidelines makes balancing your diet pretty darn simple. So the quacks practice sleight of hand magic by telling you about what certain nutrients do in the body without telling you about the metabolic and biological processes of digestion, retention, absorption, and even competition among nutrients for absorption. So a lot of these magic nutrients swallowed to promote health are destroyed in the gut and never metabolized or processed into the bloodstream and target cells. So it's really quite ridiculous when you think about it in those terms. So that's one way. And if you have questions or comments, by all means, interrupt, and I will make sure that I post the ones that are relevant. So I'm just going to post that. I'll try to post every point. So number two, they claim that most North Americans or most people in developed countries are poorly nourished. All right. This is an appeal, of course, to fear that is not only untrue, all right, but ignores the fact that the main forms of bad nourishment in the United States and developed countries are in the obesity in the population at large, particularly the poor, and undernourishment among the poverty-stricken. So poor people can ill afford to waste a lot of money on unnecessary vitamin pills. Their food money should be spent on nourishing food. So it's falsely alleged that people in the developed world are so addicted to junk foods that adequate diet is the exception rather than the norm. So while it's true that some snack foods are empty calories, sugars or fats, and hyperpalatable foods, etc., it's not necessary for every morsel of food you eat to be loaded with nutrients every single day. In fact, no normal person following any kind of structural guidelines is in any kind of danger of vitamin deficiency. So that's really an important thing to know as well. So number three, they recommend nutritional insurance for everyone. So take your supplements. That's a very, very popular one as well. You want to watch out for those buzzwords whenever you see them, nutritional insurance, and we'll get into how that works into how people market this stuff as they go along. So in terms of pushing an agenda, all right, and I'll get to that. I'm kind of building an argument here. So most vitamin pushers suggest that everyone is in danger of a deficiency of some kind, right? And therefore you need to take supplements as insurance. Some suggest that it's difficult to get what you need from food, and others claim it's actually impossible. Their pitch resembles that like door-to-door salesmen of the past who will, investigate your furnace or your air conditioner and tell you it's in danger of breaking down or blowing up unless you replace it or whatever. So vitamin pushers are never going to tell you who doesn't need their products. So be wary of deficiency claims. They may not be limited to essential nutrients either, like vitamins and minerals. We see that in the fitness industry all the time. So it can also include non-essential chemicals that nobody needs to worry about because the body makes its own supply. Case in point, Glutamine, all right, L-glutamine. Glutamine is a waste of money. All right, I'm just going to put that in there. All right, this is one of the ones that's hawked constantly in the fitness industry, that you somehow, glutamine is some kind of vital nutrient that you need to supplement with. It's a non-essential nutrient, and your body will make ample supply of it. There's nothing great, essential, or beneficial about taking glutamine, as is the case with most products in the fitness industry. So very, very important as well. So yeah, that's very, very important stuff that you should absorb. Number 4, they say that most diseases are due to faulty diets and can be treated with nutritional methods. This spills into the health arguments, right? And that's just not true. All right, so consult your doctor or any recognized textbook of medicine. They'll tell you that although a diet is a factor in some diseases, most notably, of course, coronary heart disease, most diseases have little or nothing to do with diet. Common symptoms like feeling poorly, what we call malaise, fatigue, lack of pep, aches and pains, including headaches, insomnia, similar complaints, are usually the body's reaction to emotional stress. It's not metabolic and it's not nutritional. The persistence of such symptoms is a signal to see a doctor to be evaluated for physical illness. It's not a reason to take vitamin pills or other supplements or special elimination diets that people tell you that you will need or will help you, or et cetera, et cetera. So that's a bunch of nonsense as well. So that's an important thing to know. I have this right? Are you guys seeing all this all right? Oops. So hopefully you're still seeing this well. So number 5, they allege that processing methods and storage remove all nutritive value from food. I love this one. This is a common thing in the supplement arguments, that modern processing methods, and storage remove all nutritive value from our food. Now, it is true that processing, let me just, so you guys can follow along here. So it is true that food processing can change the nutrient content of foods, but the changes are not so drastic as the quacks want you to believe. They want you to buy supplements. So while some processing methods destroy some nutrients, others add them. So a balanced variety of foods provide all the nourishment and nutrition you're ever going to need. Quacks like to distort and oversimplify, and you need to keep that in mind as well. When they say that milling removes B vitamins, they don't bother to tell you that enrichment puts them back. When they tell you that cooking destroys vitamins, they omit the fact that only a few vitamins are sensitive to heat. Nor do they tell you that these vitamins are easily obtained by consuming a portion of fresh, uncooked fruit, vegetable, or fresh or frozen fruit juice every day. So any claims that minerals are destroyed by processing or cooking are just lies. Heat does not destroy minerals. Okay, that's a very, very important fact as well. So I'm glad you guys are commenting that you can see it all right. I'm having software issues here that's affecting how I'm seeing things. So number 6, and now there's 26, but I'm only going to go through the first 15 today because I got some comments to make. So number 6, they claim that diet is a major factor in behavior. I love this one too. And this is serves the quackery industry right into the medical fields, right into things like ADD. We've seen all that stuff go through with celebrity endorsements and things like that from non-educated celebrities. I want to talk about vaccinations and all these other kind of things. Food quacks relate diet not only to disease, but to behavior. Some claim that adverse reactions to additives or common foods cause hyperactivity in children and even criminal behavior in adolescents and adults. These claims are based on a combination of delusions, anecdotal evidence, and poorly designed research. Recently, someone sent me some nonsense promoting why your children should take amino acid supplements. Which is absolutely ridiculous. And I was thinking about including that link here, but I don't like giving any attention to quacks and any attention to nonsense. So what that is all about, trying to get your children to take amino acids, one, appeal to the sensitivity and vulnerabilities of parents, that you're not parenting right if you don't provide your children X, Y, or Z. And the second goal of that is, like I said, indoctrinate young people into becoming lifetime consumers of outside-in solutions to inside-out issues. So that's very, very important as well. And that one really disgusts me because it's taking advantage of children and taking advantage of the vulnerability of parents. So last time I did this lecture, I did it in a workshop, and we talked about this kind of hypervitaminosis and warning parents about taking care of their kids. And you'll see that a lot on TV commercials about, you know, a part of a balanced breakfast and all this. Well, attending my workshop at that time was a pediatric doctor, and he was here with his wife attending my workshop. And so we got into the whole thing. And here's what happened. One parent was giving their children Flintstone chewable vitamins. So aren't they cool? Like they're chewable like gummy bears, and they're tasty, and they're shaped like the Flintstones. So it's a cartoon, very attractive to the kids. So got the kids indoctrinated into what a good thing this was. And then when the parents were out, the kids were eating them like candy, and an 8-year-old ended up with vitamin A poisoning and almost died and was in the hospital for weeks and weeks and weeks. Because of taking too many children's vitamins and eating them like candy. So very, very important. Let me just see what that comment is there. How can parents let the children order at GNC or whatever? Yeah, well, this is what's going on out there. This is why I'm trying to be as detailed as I can in my presentations, because the sleight of hand and the things that go on under the surface are hard to argue in Facebook points, in articles, because it just washes over people. The unfortunate thing here, like even this article that I'm giving you, that's you know, updated constantly, it probably has less views than some quack site, you know, proposing some 7-day cleanse or some 5-day magic. You know, so these things tend to get washed away because they're not sexy. It's the sexy marketing stuff that gets everyone's attention. It's everyone saying, hey, what? Oh, what's this? Oh, you lost 5 pounds by cutting carbs for 2 weeks? Oh, I want to do that, without understanding anything that's going on beneath the surface. So, you know, this is why I want to present, you know, detailed stuff. So number 7, they claim fluoridation is dangerous. Now, I've seen this over and over and over again, and by people that I know better. So I've seen this one by people that I know have done their research and know that this is quackery. So, but here's the point in this one about fluoridation. Quacks are not always interested in real deficiencies. Fluoride's necessary to build decay-resistant teeth, strong bones, etc. And the best way to obtain adequate amounts of this important nutrient is to augment community water supplies. So their fluoride concentration is 1 part fluoride for every 1,000,000 parts of water. But quacks usually oppose water fluoridation, and some advocate water filters that remove fluoride. And it seems that when they cannot profit from something, they try to make more money by opposing that something. So this is another way that quackery works. I'm just going to put that in here, because this is an important point as well. So, and I know people who are selling quote unquote magic water. All right. So, you know, you need to buy your water from us. And then I couldn't find the research in time, but there was research out there that tested a bunch of magic waters and found that even though they were supposed to be spring waters and they were supposed to be from this or that, you know, magic spring, they were actually just tap water that was bottled and sold as something that it wasn't. So watch out for people who are telling you that you can't trust your water, and they just happen to sell you water that you can trust. That's just quackery. All right. Make you afraid of something, sell you the alternative. All right. That's a very common tactic in quackery. All right. And remember, 90% of what's going on in the fitness, diet, and supplement industry is outright quackery. So what are the chances that you are exposed to the 10% that actually does something positive? This is what bothers me. So when I did my lecture on the unnecessary intake of vitamins and supplements a couple weeks back. Like I said, my inbox blew up with people wanting to know about exceptions. What about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? To the point where it makes me shake my head. People are so indoctrinated that they don't even want to be educated when the education's right there in their face, because I presented all the research. But then it was like, well, what about L-carnitine? And what about this? And what about that? And it's like, you know what? I answered all those questions by illustrating what's going on. So very, very important that you understand all that leading forward. That's why I'm trying to be as detailed as I can. Oh, here, the next one is one of my favorites, so I definitely have to post this. They claim that soil depletion, you've probably heard this, and the use of pesticides and chemical fertilizers result in food that is less safe and less nourishing. So again, let's tell people that our food supply isn't safe, and let's tell us that it's lost all its nutrients. Now keep in mind, 90% of the people who are reading this will buy into it wholeheartedly, and then there'll be people that'll go through their drive-through and order a Big Mac and fries and a shake, and yet they're afraid of their own good foods, that are actually nutrient dense. So very, very important. They claim that soil depletion and the use of pesticides and chemical fertilizer result in food that is less safe and less nourishing. Absolutely not true. Let me just scroll down here, and then I will read you the rest of that point. These claims are used to promote the sale of so-called organically grown foods. If an essential nutrient is missing from the soil, a plant simply doesn't grow. Okay, it just won't grow if an essential nutrient is missing. So chemical fertilizers counteract the effects of soil depletion, and quacks also lie when they claim that plants grown with natural fertilizers, such as manure, are nutritionally superior to those grown with synthetic fertilizers. Before they can use them, plants convert natural fertilizers into the same chemicals that synthetic fertilizers supply. The vitamin content, here's what you need to know, okay? What's really, really important here. The vitamin content of a food is determined by its genetic makeup, all right? Not the soil, all right? So why is that so hard for people to grasp is beyond me, right? A vitamin content of a food is determined by its genetic makeup. Why don't consumers seem to understand that? Why? Because they've been indoctrinated into not understanding it. So fertilizers can influence, of course, certain minerals in plants, but this is not a significant factor in your diet. Pesticide residue of our food supply is extremely small and poses no health threat to the consumer. Foods certified as organic are not safer or more nutritious, all right, than other foods. In fact, except for their higher price, they are not significantly different. A while back, I don't know if you are all aware of the Penn and Teller magicians, Penn and Teller. They did a thing a while back, you can probably find it on YouTube, where they had, Julie's just saying even MDs push this nonsense. I know they do. Her last MD pushes a detox and vitamin regimen that he sells, of course, and he got mad when I said no. Watch out for people who are telling you you're deficient in something and they just happen to have the answer to that because they sell it. A few years back, there was this thing called BioSig. What a complete crock that was, that you could look into your eyes and pinch the skin on the back of your thighs and tell you you're deficient in this and that, and taking courses in this stuff went for hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and it was outright quackery, and people were getting certified in this nonsense. But use some common sense, folks. If anything like that worked, where you could do an outside-in diagnosis without invasive diagnosis, without blood tests, without gene testing, without these other things, by pinching the skin on the back of your thigh and telling you, oh, you're deficient in magnesium, you're deficient in selenium. If that stuff actually worked, the big drug companies would be all over that to make millions and billions of dollars. So the fact that this stuff, that the fitness industry and supplement industry keeps pushing alternatives, like the pharmaceutical industry isn't doing its R&D and isn't looking into some ways to make money, is absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, in terms of indoctrination, a while back, magicians Penn and Teller did this thing They took a banana and they cut it in half. And I can't remember if the person was blindfolded or not blindfolded. They had a person who believes in organic food, this and that. So they said, okay, you're going to taste this banana, and she takes a bite. All right, and then she tastes it, and then they have her. Okay, now take a bite of this banana, and she takes a bite, and they have her guess which one was organic. And she takes a guess, and they say, oh, yeah, you're right. That was the organic banana. How did you know? And she goes on about the taste, and it's more pure, and it's a deeper taste, and yada, yada, yada. But the fact was they actually bought a banana on a grocery store shelf and just cut it in half. It wasn't, neither part of it was organic, but the placebo effect in her mind told her she could know the difference. And I also want you to know the reason I shrunk the article so I can hold up, as I've done many, many times, Modern Nutrition in Health and Disease, okay, a 3,000-page textbook that I use over and over again, all right? A lot of this, how to spot quackeries about soil depletion and all this nonsense, it's all in there. So that's an important thing for you to know. So I'm going to continue now with showing you guys the rest of this. So hopefully you're still seeing this. So of course, well, I don't know who you're mentioning, Bruce, but if it fits this, then yeah, once again, let's make big companies the enemy and the criminal and the demon with fangs, and then everyone else is the savior. It's just not how things work. So let me move on to point number 9 here. Okay, point number 9. They claim you are in danger of being poisoned by ordinary food additives and preservatives. See this one a lot, especially with sweeteners. And I've written a huge article on sweeteners. That's part of my book, I think, Understanding Metabolism, where I actually went to people who specialize in those things. And of course, none of it could be further from the truth. So let me just, I love this one, that your food is poisoning you, as in I hate it. So let's make people more and more afraid of our food. Very, very foolish and psychologically harmful to people to buy into this crap. All right. This is another scare tactic designed to undermine your confidence in food scientists and government protection agencies, as well as our food supply itself. Quacks want you to think that it's them who are out to protect you. They hope that if you trust them, you'll buy their natural food products. The fact is that tiny amounts of additives used in food pose no threat to human health. Some actually protect our health by preventing spoilage, rancidity, and mold growth, etc., etc. So very, very important points as well. So they charge this, the next one here, very important as well. One of their assertions is that the recommended dietary allowances have been set too low. Again, this is total nonsense, and I refer you to the textbook of Modern Nutrition in Health and Disease. And you should, just the first 10 pages of the people who help edit that textbook, the credentials of those people is beyond compare. You can't take one doctor and compare it to the dozens of doctors that contributed to this textbook. It's just ridiculous to even think so. So very important stuff. So the RDAs have been published by the National Research Council approximately every 5 years since 1943. All right, they're defined as the levels of intake of essential nutrients that on the basis of scientific knowledge are judged by the Food and Nutrition Board to be adequate to meet known nutrition needs of practically all healthy persons. All right, neither the RDAs nor the daily values listed on food labels are minimums or requirements. They are deliberately set higher. Hang on, I've got some comments coming in. They are deliberately set higher than most people will ever need. The reason quacks charge that the RDAs are too low is obvious. If you believe you need more than can be obtained from food, you're more likely to buy supplements. And then you just end up paying to have more expensive urine. And that one is this is a common theme among real nutritionists, that the more supplements you take, the more expensive your urine is. And that's very important as well. So Nancy's asking me if I've heard of the book about lectins, that tomatoes are toxic, and any fruit or vegetables with seeds, blah, blah, blah. Again, let's make people afraid of food. As a matter of fact, let me just pause for 1 second here. All right, so you got me going here for a second. I want to just come back to all of me for a second. So this book, well, let's see if I can get this in the picture here. So this book is called Fear of Food. All right. Fear of Food, the history of why we worry so much about what we eat. And you will see in here a bunch of quackery scams. As a matter of fact, how they used to tout specific diets from specific areas as longevity diets and all these things. And the people that we went and investigated this island where people live longer and they were old and healthy. And when they took medical doctors with them who were curious about this, what they found in this island was people were ripe with disease, with poverty, with malnutrition, all kinds of stuff. So, you were being purported that this was a longevity place with lots of clues of how to live better and live longer. So you would buy supplements that reflect how these people lived. And when the actual researchers got there, what they found was a lot of malnutrition from people who were living below the level of poverty. So very, very important stuff. And that's why I'm bringing it to you. So Sarah's just saying, let me just show that one from Sarah. Good point. Sarah's saying, wouldn't you agree to get all the nutrients we need without supplementation? We should eat whole foods in their most natural form. I have no argument there. Sarah, no problem with that. I believe in a healthy, whole food, unprocessed food diet, except if you're on the cycle diet, then on your refeed days, anything goes, of course, for the health of your digestive tract and for calorie spikes and optimizing metabolism and things like that. But yeah, I have absolutely no problem with that comment whatsoever. So very important. So I'm going to get back now to the argument. So hopefully you guys are seeing this, and I will go back. Yeah, hopefully. There, you guys seeing that okay? Hopefully you are. So I'll get to Andy's comment in a minute. Number 11, they claim that under everyday stress and in certain diseases, your need for nutrients increases. This goes into something I'll be talking about in a minute, where you fill out questionnaires and they tell you how stressed you are and therefore you're leaking vitamins. And this is coming up, so I'll get to that. But many vitamin manufacturers, let me just go down here because I want to get to the point here. This is important stuff, folks. So hopefully you guys are following along and you're learning something. By all means, let me know if you are. Like I said, I'm only going to do half of this today. So hopefully you will get to that. You can still see this, okay? Let me know on that. So many vitamin manufacturers have advertised that, quote unquote, stress robs the body of vitamins. One company that I looked up has asserted that if you smoke, diet, or happen to be sick, you could be robbing your body of vitamins. Another that I just, by doing quick Google searches, warned that stress can deplete your body of water-soluble vitamins and daily replacement is necessary. Of course, all these people hawk supplements. Other products are touted to fill the quote-unquote special needs of athletes. This one in particular, appeals to the wannabe trainee out there, because it perks their interest, much like I said earlier about parents. You appeal to the vulnerable side of people. Oh, if you're really, serious, then you need this vitamin or that vitamin, etc., which is really quite ridiculous. So while it is true that the need for vitamins can rise slightly under physical stress in certain diseases, that type of advertising is a complete fraud. The average person in the developed country, whether stressed or not, is not in danger of a vitamin deficiency unless your whole diet is complete crap, in which case you wouldn't be tuning into something like this anyway. So the increased needs to which ads refer are not higher than the amounts that you can obtain by just eating right, or eating even remotely right. Someone who is really in danger of deficiency due to an illness would be very sick and would probably be in a hospital anyway. And these promotions are aimed at average people who aren't sick and who don't need vitamin supplements to survive the common cold or a round of golf or a workout or whatever. Athletes get more than enough vitamins when they eat the food needed to meet their caloric requirements. So I'm just going to copy this one here and put it up. So one of the examples I posted was, think for a minute about metabolism and biofeedback are always emphasizing the wisdom of the body. So Michael Phelps, for instance, the most decorated Olympian in history, whenever the Olympics comes around and Phelps competes, everyone makes a big deal about his diet and the 10,000 and 12,000 calories and all this stuff. Well, think about it. Because of his training, because of his size, because of his metabolism, his appetite dictates to him to eat that many calories. And by eating that many calories, he gets that much more vitamins, minerals, nutrients, just by listening to his body and responding accordingly. Doesn't need supplements. Metabolism and biofeedback speak to the wisdom of the body. And if you respond accordingly, then there's no need for outside-in influence at all. So very, very important stuff. So that's a good example right there to always keep in mind. So many vitamin pushers suggest that smokers need vitamin C supplements, although it's true that smokers in North America or in developed countries have somewhat lower blood levels of vitamin C. These levels are still far above deficiency levels. If you're getting like 30 grams of vitamin C a day, you're fine. So in America, cigarette smoking, leading cause of death, preventable by self-discipline. So rather than seeking false comfort by taking vitamin C, smokers who are concerned about their health should just stop smoking. So suggestions that stress vitamins are helpful against emotional stress are also fraudulent. So let me just post that one because that's important as well. So let's just get that up there on the screen. So suggestions that stress vitamins are helpful against emotional stress is a fraudulent claim. Okay, you know what's helpful against emotional stress? Learning how to cope with stress. You master stress or stress masters you. That's the difference in living a healthy life. So very, very important stuff there. So I'll move on. I'll get to your, I'm negligent in my comments here. Yeah, I'm gonna get back to it, folks. So number 12, they recommend supplements and health foods for everyone. All right, this is the one that ticks me off, okay? So food quacks belittle normal foods. Let me just raise this one up so you guys can see the font a little better. Food quacks belittle normal foods and ridicule the food group system of good nutrition. They may not tell you they earn their living from such pronouncements, right? Again, they have to create an enemy or something for you to be afraid of so they can sell you, the hero answer, the superhero answer. So you got to watch out for people that make their money from saying such things. So public appearance fees, product endorsements, sales of publications, and financial interests in vitamin companies, food stores, organic farms, things like that. Now, I wrote a little example here. I won't use the name, but back in the day, people forget that I'm a supplement industry insider for about 15 years. Okay, I was on the board of advisors for a couple supplement boards. They wanted to use my name, just like in here, so they could tout fitness celebrity endorsements with their products. And what they did here, I'm using the person's initials. One of the magazines started heavily promoting a certain supplement company I was with, and they used a case study of example of this guy whose training went nowhere, and then he used these magic supplements and put on all this muscle and yada yada. And the guy who was the test study was actually the owner of the company, who actually used to work for the magazine. Okay, if you're following me there. So they presented him as just this guinea pig who knew nothing about anything and did these magic supplements and got this magic before and after result, and yet he was the owner of the company. Just lies on lies on lies, and yet people just eat it with a spoon. So Dave, I'm going to highlight your comment there, Dave. Dave's just making a good point here. So Dave says, do you mean bogus products like Isogenics and Juice Plus that make all these ridiculous claims when really you should just eat whole foods? Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. So very important point. Very important point there. So you don't need these things, and they don't offer much benefit. Darren's just asking, what about people whose diets are suboptimal and have been shown to have nutritional? Oh, I'm going to get to that one. Been shown to have nutritional deficiencies via blood tests, or those who have been shown to be greater risk of genetic health risk. Do you think that supplementing specific nutrients like B12, iron, and zinc are going to benefit certain people? This is the yeah but community I was talking about earlier. And Darren, I'm going to get to this idea that diets are suboptimal. You could eat a 50% processed food, junk food diet and still have optimal levels of nutrients. This is the lie that permeates the diet, fitness, and supplement industry and indoctrinates people into believing that their nutrition is suboptimal. And I'll get to something. Don't let me leave without talking about the supplement paradox as well. I want to finish with that, and we'll get to that. And then Andy's just saying, protege Andy with another smart comment, intelligent comment. I think it's funny how everyone thinks there's a big conspiracy with the FDA and Health Canada. Same thing in the States. Yeah, they'll warn us of the dangers of smoking, but secretly want to kill us with food additives and artificial sweeteners and things like that. Yeah, it's this is the kind of hypocrisy that goes on, that the quacks are the ones looking out for you when the quacks are the ones looking out for their own bottom line. So this is what you need to know and you need to figure out. So the very term health food is a deceptive slogan. Judgments about individual foods have to take into account how they contribute to an individual's overall diet. All food is health food in moderation, all right? And any food can be junk food in excess. So take that with a grain of salt, but that is legitimate nutritional research consideration. So, right, very, very important stuff to consider. Do you ever stop and think that your local corner grocery store, fruit market, meat market, supermarket are also health food stores? They are, and they generally charge a lot less than stores that use that slogan. I watch people fall all over themselves to go into these supermarkets that are specifically targeting affluent demographics and catering to their vulnerabilities about food and health, so that you need to shop at your I'm trying to remember the name of the one here in Kelowna, but it's funny that everyone's walking in there, Whole Foods market, health food market, and it's no different than me shopping for my groceries at Walmart, but they're going to pay a hell of a lot more. So very, very important stuff. So things to consider. Have you ever wondered why people who eat lots of health foods still feel that they have to load up on vitamin supplements, or why so many health food shoppers complain about not feeling great? And this one has always stumped me. So people who eat lots of health food but still think they got to load themselves up with supplements, or why so many health food shoppers complain about ill health. You're appealing to the wrong people. People with disposable income need to literally buy into something to feel better about themselves, and that's a ridiculous kind of thing. And this is what I was getting to earlier about the supplement paradox. There's a thing in the nutrition industry I'm talking real researchers, like the kind in the book from Harvard, et cetera, called the supplement paradox, that people who take supplements tend to be healthier, but it has nothing to do with the supplements. They still just have more expensive urine than people who don't take supplements. They tend to be healthier because they're more affluent, They take better care of themselves because they don't work themselves into the ground. They're less stressed. They have more available vacation time. They exercise. They tend to be more concerned about eating a healthy diet and making wise food choices. So it's more about the mindset of people than it is anything to do with the supplements they take, which can actually contribute to their ill health. And that's called the supplement paradox. So I'll just type that in there for you, and you can look it up. I talked about this at my last workshop as well. So that's something that exists in the real. So Angela's just asking if I feel the same way about herbs. Some herbs are fine, but they're not going to make the difference between health and ill health. They can be healthy, but they're not going to mark the difference, between good health and ill health. That's just not how it works. So next point. They claim that natural vitamins, all right, are better than synthetic ones. I love this. This is appealing now to orthorexia in general, all right? So this is a flat out lie. Each vitamin is a chain of atoms strung together as a molecule. With a minor exception, molecules made in factories are of nature are identical to those made in factories of chemical companies. Does it make sense to pay extra for vitamins extracted from food when you can get all you need from the food itself? That doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm just going to post that up there. This is common sense stuff, all right? So this is why I like to get to the bottom line and post things that'll make you go, never looked at it that way before. Because, even after this show, and this is, like I said, I'll be doing this in 2 parts because there's 26 points to get through. Even after this, I'm still going to get people butting me to death. So, no, you don't need vitamin D supplements either. That was a matter of conjecture up until recently. And now, Gilbert, I actually covered this a couple of weeks ago in my previous lecture on vitamins. And what they're finding now is high levels of vitamin D toxicity in people from taking too many vitamin D supplements. So in terms of this, natural vitamins are better than synthetic ones. Another example here is stevia. Here we go again. You're welcome, Gilbert. That stevia must be better because it comes from a natural source. Really, that natural source still has to go to a factory and be processed. And in my article and my chapter, Understanding Metabolism, when I talk to people who deal with this stuff, there's no difference. You're not any healthier because you choose stevia over, I prefer Splenda. I think stevia tastes like ass. So I'm not going to have it just because I can call myself healthier for doing it. I'm not into the placebo effect. Adrian, you must be late. I already talked about organic versus non-organic above. So, we can get into that in more detail another time. So here's moving on now to, just going to get into the next one here. Next, they suggest that a questionnaire can be used to indicate whether you need dietary supplements. So this is another one that bugs me. You think all this detail, look at the detail. I have to answer this long questionnaire and stuff. No questionnaire can do this. A few entrepreneurs have devised lengthy computer-scored questionnaires with questions about symptoms that could be present if vitamin deficiency exists. But these symptoms occur much more frequently in conditions unrelated to nutrition. Even when a deficiency actually exists, these tests don't provide enough information to discover the cause so that suitable treatment can be recommended. It's not direct cause and effect in the body. There's a myriad of things that go on all at once in the body that correlate, but they're not causation, they're correlation. So physical exams and appropriate laboratory tests. Many responsible nutritionists use a computer to help evaluate their client's diet, but this is done to make dietary recommendations, such as reducing fat, increasing fiber. Supplements are seldom necessary unless the person is just unwilling to consume an adequate diet. So even if you're remotely living in the fitness industry lifestyle, your diet would be adequate enough to supply you with all the nutrients your body needs and then some. And this goes back to something else people ask me all the time. why don't I speak anymore at these symposiums and all this other stuff? This is one of the reasons why, because when I go there, all I see is booth after booth, misleading people that if you really want to be healthy, you need product X. And that's just not, your body is wise enough if you just leave it alone. So very, very important stuff. Okay, there's some comments there I'll get to, but let me get to this one. So be wary too. A lot of these questionnaires purported to determine whether supplements are necessary to correct nutritional deficiencies. All right, this is what big buzzword again. Again, it just coincides with the comment Darren just made. Like, ooh, everyone's deficient in magnesium. No, they're not. Questionnaires purported to determine whether supplements are needed to correct nutrient deficiencies, another quackery buzzword, or dietary inadequacies, or to design customized supplements. I love that one too, from a few idiots I know in the fitness industry that have competed at a high level in bikini and figure, and now they're customizing your supplement protocol. Wow. Want to customize your supplement protocol? Eat a wide variety of the foods available to you in your produce section of your grocery store. There's your solution. Problem solved. So these questionnaires on these websites of quacks, even though the websites are very sophisticated, these questionnaires are scored so that everyone who takes the test is going to be advised to take a supplement. It goes back to something Warren Buffett said when talking about the finance industry. Warren Buffett said something very simple: never ask a barber if you need a haircut. In other words, people who sell supplements are never going to tell you you don't need what they have to sell. All right, so that's very, very important. Responsible dietary analysis. Compare individuals' average daily food consumption with a recommended number of servings from each food group. The safest and best way to get nutrients is generally from food, not pills. So there we go again. Just going to paste that in there because you need to see that and you need to be aware of that and you need to pay attention to that. So the safest and best way to get nutrients is from food, not pills. So even if a diet is deficient, which is very unlikely, I'll get to you. This is going back to the question you're asking, Darren. So I'm going to post that on here. So as you can see what the conclusion is here. So even if a diet is deficient, which is really, really unlikely in the developed world, the most prudent action is usually diet modification, not supplementation with any kind of pill or supplement. So so that's very important. I'm going to leave that one on there for a second. I'll get to some good comments are coming in that I want to get to so as well. So very, very important stuff. And don't let me finish. I'm on my last point for this lecture, but I got a lot to say. Don't let me finish without a little word about one of the most modern famous quacks, and that you can look up. So I'm going to get to your good comments coming in, folks. Really good comments. So okay, so point number 15, the one I'm going to end on today, because I'm going to continue this one next week because people are going to want to get into that. They say it's easy to lose weight with the right supplements. Diet quacks would like you to believe that special food pills or food combinations can cause effortless weight loss. Remember when I did the politics for profits and low carb nonsense, that Atkins was describing ketosis as a bright sunny day and better than sex, which ketosis is actually metabolic hell. It's very hard on your body. And that's another issue I've already covered. But the only way to lose weight, of course, is to be in relative caloric deficit more often than you're in a calorie surplus. And then you have to understand things like metabolism, like in my cycle diet or whatever. So that's very important as well. So so self-discipline, eating less, exercising more, preferably doing both. 3,500 calories and a pound of fat to lose 1 pound a week. You got to surrender about 500 fewer calories a day than you need. And the most sensible diet for losing weight is one that's nutritionally balanced in carbs, fats, and proteins. So most fad diets work, by producing temporary weight loss as a result of calorie restriction, but they are invariably too monotonous and often too dangerous for long-term use. Unless a dieter develops and maintains better eating and exercise habits, weight loss on a diet will soon return. And of course, my cycle diet is all about that because it's sustainable and it's a lifestyle. My book, Understanding Metabolism, highlights all of this stuff. I've been. How many books have I written on it? Understanding Metabolism, Beyond Metabolism, The Anti-Diet Approach to Weight Loss and Weight Control, Permanent Weight Loss. I mean, I've written a number of books on this, folks. And yet, you know, the sizzle is still seems to be more important than the steak in this industry. So, diet is a lifestyle. That's why I call everything I do diet strategy, not a diet. So very, very important as well. And then the term cellulite is sometimes used to describe the dimpled fat found around the hips and thighs of many women. Although no medical evidence supports the claim, cellulite is represented as a special kind of fat that's resistant to diet and exercise. So surefire cellulite remedies, if you do a quick Google search, creams to dissolve it, brushers, rollers, loofah sponges, body wraps, saran wraps, vitamin mineral supplements, herbs. Okay, the cost of various treatment plans that I looked up can run from a few dollars, and of course, even at Walmart, I went on to the vitamin section and looked, and here's a couple ladies massively overweight looking at cellulite solutions in a bottle. I mean, seriously. The cost of various treatment plans can go up to hundreds of dollars, of course. Let's appeal to affluent women who are the most body conscious and get as much money out of them as we can. All right. And so they think they can lay on a table somewhere and have their cellulite disappear by getting, you know, brushed and rolled and wrapped up in saran and all this other stuff. The simple truth about cellulite is that ordinary fat that can be lost only as part of an overall lifestyle program designed to do so. So what I'm going to finish up with now, folks, is I'm going to finish up with a mention, and I'm going to get to your comments too. You guys are commenting to each other because I've been avoiding you, I guess. But yeah, one of the people, one of the most modern quacks that represent all of this stuff is a guy called Kevin Trudeau. Do a quick Google search on Kevin Trudeau, and sentenced to 10 years in prison. He started out with infomercials a few years ago, the miracle cures they don't want you to know about. Like, there's that conspiracy theory right in your face. And then he had this miracle weight loss diet, which is the one he ended up going to prison for. Ended up being a 500 calorie diet, but it was magic. It wasn't going to be hard, and there was no hunger. And of course, they don't want you to know about it. And I'm the one on your side telling you the truth. And he got 10 years in prison for fraud. And his history of defrauding consumers went back to the 70s and 80s, I believe. So do a Google search on that. And here's someone who made millions by, he's your buddy. He's your consumer advocate. He's looking out for your best interests. And these big, bad corporate interests, they're trying to keep a man down. And then you see exactly what I'm talking about here. He's the scam artist. He's the con man. And he deservedly got 10 years in prison. He should have got more, as far as I'm concerned. And yet I would wake up when his miracle solutions or whatever it was called, they don't want you to know about. I would see that infomercial every single time I turned on the TV, and it would drive me insane. Because what it meant was, if he could afford to produce that commercial that many times, then it's that profitable for him, making millions and millions of dollars following the recipe for quackery. Just tell people that they're not getting the whole story. Tell people that the powerful interests are against them. Tell people that you have the answers and you're on their side. And tell people that they need something they're not getting and you have the answer. And like I said, folks, I've been in this industry 4 decades. I could easily sell out, cop out, and make 10 times what I'm making now. Like I said, I was on the board of advisors for supplement companies. I know what goes on inside those rooms. It has nothing to do with how effective their products are. It has to do with the bottom line. So very, very important stuff. I could have abandoned taking care of you guys. As a matter of fact, as I was getting ready for this week, one thing ticked me off. There's a former client of mine who shall go mentionless, just because the client doesn't mean it's someone I liked or preferred. And someone wrote me who's joining with me for coaching that used to be with this person. And then this is a person who's overweight, needs to lose weight, doesn't have much of a training background. And yet you should have saw the list of supplements that he was supposed to take, which had no bearing on his weight, no bearing on his health, no bearing on anything other than lining the pockets of this so-called online coach. That pisses me off. That makes me want to do things like this. And again, then I'm the one accused of not knowing my stuff. You show me someone else who's read a 3,000-page tech book twice, and then I'll listen to them. So let me get to some of the comments. But let me also, folks. So I already held up for you. All right. So I already held up this book. Oh, where am I going here? All right. Fear of Food. All right. It's just a little book. You can get through it. And then, of course, my own books. All right. Understanding Metabolism. All right. Beyond Metabolism. All right. The Anti-Diet Approach to Weight Loss and Weight Control. Permanent Weight Loss. All right. So you want to get those books. And of course, my book, The Cycle Diet, and my course, The Cycle Diet. So very important stuff. So I've been doing my homework for years. So now let's start getting real about getting real and share this stuff. Darren's just saying, thanks for doing this. Appreciate the info. Do I think specific nutrients can have a benefit in specific circumstances? Well, the circumstances have to be really specific, Darren. Like, for instance, if someone's been in a fire and their skin has been burned. So that's important. Fear of Food is by Harvey Levenstein. Sabine, Harvey Levenstein. So I think all supplements are useless. I haven't taken a supplement in, I can't even remember when, it's been so long. So, and hopefully you guys are also right now looking up Kevin Trudeau and what a scam artist he was, and see how it fits into everything I've outlined here as well. So, yeah, so that's, okay, let me get to, oops, so, oh God. David's just saying, and this isn't you, David, this is the subject matter. My take on exogenous ketones and why everyone is so obsessed with it at the moment. Everyone's so obsessed because scams work. You sell the sizzle, not the steak. Let's create something that sounds scientific, that's totally bogus, and again, outside-in nonsense, exogenous ketones. Oy vey. The reason I'm doing these lectures, folks, is so that you can spot quackery when you see it. And it may take some time because you're the consumer. You're not into this like I am to do the research and know the difference and spot it immediately, right? But I spot stuff like that immediately because I'm trained to do so. So exogenous ketones, everyone's obsessed with it because we the sheeple, Dave. That's why everyone's so obsessed with it. Every new little market trend, don't forget the fitness industry flips over about every 5 years, which means most consumers burn out every 5 years, and there's a new consumer market cycle that will replace them. And that's well known in the fitness, diet, and supplement industry. So the goal is to capitalize on getting them to spend as much dollars as you can within that 5-year cycle that they will likely be involved in the fitness industry. People don't know that. This is what the market is, and this is what the market tells us. So very, very important stuff. So that's exogenous ketones is just another ridiculous outside-in formulation, and you can say everyone's obsessed about it because no one's properly informed. No one wants to go to who the scientists are and have them investigate. They want to know what the latest fitness trend is, the latest diet trend is, and they want to buy into it. because they want to believe in witchcraft, what I call it, witchcraft by witchcraft. So very, very important stuff there. So hopefully some of you guys have looked up Kevin Trudeau by now. So Sabine wants me to talk about steroids, how they can affect food intake. Oh, maybe another time. It really doesn't fit into the quackery argument. Tina's just saying once she stopped taking all these supplements recommended by her coach that she took for years, she started feeling better. I hear that from clients all the time. Addition by subtraction. People don't seem to understand you probably need less of what you're doing than more of what you're doing. So, the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And yet the supplement mentality continues that, oh, I must need something. I'm not feeling right. I'm not getting the results I think I deserve, yada, yada, yada. This feeds right into the quackery stuff like isogenics and exogenous ketones and whatever else will be new. I've been around since boron and chromium picolinate, for crying out loud, and L-carnitine. I've seen all this nonsense. It just gets more sophisticated and it doesn't do anything. And what it does do, if anything, in terms of the argument of optimal health, the effect is incidental, not instrumental. And what that means is it's not going to be the thing that makes the difference. Okay, a lot of the times people will embark on a diet. So what they do is they clean up their diet, they start eating healthy whole foods, they start skipping the junk food that they used to eat, and then they give credit to this diet they're on, not realizing it was actually addition by subtraction. They stopped eating crap, they became more disciplined, and they lost weight, and they give the credit to the diet rather than the self-discipline. So it boggles my mind that people want to give credit to something other than their own hard work, when their own hard work is the thing that produces the results. So, yeah, Perry's just saying, let me get Perry's comment up there. I'll just hide this one. And then Perry's just saying, blast from the past, L-arginine, L-carnitine, L-ornithine. People don't know how long I've been around. I mean, obviously I should look old. I'm 56, but I've been answering these questions, folks, for decades. Can you imagine how exhausting that is? What Perry's saying right now, like L-arginine, L-carnitine. I was debunking that crap when it first came out, right? And now we've proven L-arginine is actually carcinogenic. So that's why that died. As soon as those studies started coming in, that it can be cancer promoting and carcinogenic, well, then you can't put that in a supplement anymore. So let's find something to replace it. It just, again, bothers me that your real consumer advocates are people you haven't even heard of, people who wrote the book, Modern Nutrition and Health and Disease, and their credentials are unbelievable. And yet the credentials of most of these quacks are severely missing. Don't forget, when I did my several-part lecture on low-carb lies for profits, politics for profits, and I talked about Atkins, okay, he had a doctor in front of his name, but he didn't publish one single peer-reviewed research article to do with diet, not one. Okay, so when I review Modern Nutrition and Health and Disease, and you look at the credentials of the people involved in that book, there is no higher authority. And what all of them have to say is the stuff I've been presenting to you all as well. So it's very, very important because you're not hearing it. So you're likely to fall into the next sizzle that comes, the next shiny new object, which now seems to be exogenous ketones. Oh, what a crock of shit, exogenous ketone. It doesn't even make sense, okay? That comment doesn't even make sense. What I saw last week now was a new ketone coffee creamer. That doesn't make sense either. Ketosis is a metabolic predicament, is a metabolic condition, a metabolic profile. There's not a food specifically that's ketogenic in and of itself. It's no sense. So anyway, very, very important stuff. So people are just talking on what's Dave saying. Dave's just saying he used to take a few scoops of Jack 3, I don't even know what that is, before playing rugby, and my heart would nearly thump itself out of my chest before halftime. Yeah, a lot of these fat burners that have so much caffeine in them. A lot of guys back when this stuff first came out, the thermogenic compound of caffeine and acetylsalicylic acid, caffeine and aspirin together. Very, very important what happened there in the early days. Guys were going out to party. They were taking their fat burners because it jacked them up, right? I mean, it was a stimulant. And then they would take something like ecstasy and something like Viagra because they had a night planned of excitement, nightclubs, dancing, the white man's overweight, all right, maybe getting laid. And then they would take Viagra and their blood pressure would drop so low in combination with the stimulant of the fat burners. More than a few athletes died of massive heart attacks just from those combinations. So very, very important as well. So Matt, does variety in the diet even matter? I hear that all the time. You have to change it up all the time. Not necessarily. A green vegetable is a green vegetable. Some things have, better genetic profiles than others. But again, the bar is so low for optimal health. I eat the same diet year in, year out, day in, day out. Now the days change, of course, what I do Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, Saturday. I have 2-day blocks so that I never get bored because I understand diet psychology. And that's how I eat. But no, you don't have to change it up every day. As long as the diet is based in healthy whole foods, it's really, really unlikely anyone living in the developed world is going to be nutrient deficient in anything. That's the bottom line. So hopefully people get that. Did anyone look up Kevin Trudeau? Maybe for next time. So Catherine's just saying she's done it all. The money wasted is nauseating. I find it hard not to lose it when someone's buying into this crap, but they're buying into this crap, like I said, over and over. Every 5 years, the consumer in these industries cycles through. So you've got a whole new batch of consumers every 5 years that are just as naive, just as green, and they'll buy into anything. So the current consumer has probably never heard of L-arginine and L-ornithine or boron, but they have the exact same mindset. So they're literally going to buy into bulletproof coffee and exogenous ketones. It's the exact same supplement mentality because they've been fully indoctrinated. So that's the top 15, and there's 26 points to Quackery. Next time I'll get more into the actual diet industry side of things, and we will look into that next time. So I'm glad I only did half this week because I still covered an hour, and I meant to keep these shorter, but I get on my rants. So hopefully you've been hitting the share button. I didn't even get to see, and I keep forgetting to mention that at the beginning of all these, but very, very important as well. So, okay, folks, that's going to be it for me for this week. And hopefully you'll tune in for part 2 next week, and then we'll move on to other things as well. So hopefully you're liking the webinar format, the lecture format that I'm doing. Because I used to do it, this is how I used to lecture at university, and it seemed to be pretty popular. So again, my books are behind me, study all this stuff. So again, that's it for me this week. So I will hopefully see you all again next week, and by all means, spread the word, and let's get the conversation going and start teaching people the truth instead of chasing shiny new objects that the fitness, diet, and supplement industry is built upon. So I'll see you all next week.